Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's topic. Today, we are going to discuss the chapter The Rat Trap by Selma Lagerlof. Before we proceed with the plot of the story, let's look at the characters. Our main character is the Rat Trap Peddler. We also meet the old crofter, the iron master of the Ramsjo iron mill, and then Edla Manson. At the very beginning of the chapter, we are introduced to the Rat Trap seller who lives a very poverty stricken life. We see his clothes are in rags, it's torn and tattered. His cheeks are sunken, and hunger gleamed in his eyes. To keep himself alive, he would do begging, petty thievery, and making small rat traps and selling them. As we read the chapter ahead, we will know the rat trap seller by various names like the tramp, the vagabond, the stranger, the peddler. The rat trap seller, while he was selling the rat traps, one day he had an entertaining thought. He thought that the whole world is like big rat traps with the land and seas, the city and villages. And as the rat trap offers cheese and pork to the rat, in a similar way, this world offers bait in the form of riches, joys, shelter, food, heat, clothing. So, whatever the world offers to human beings, it is just a way to trap them. One day, while walking on the road, he came across an old grey cottage. And when he asked for shelter there, he came across an old crofter. Now, our old crofter is a lonely man without wife and children. Because he was lonely, he was very happy to welcome the rat trap seller. He could get someone to talk to. And he was very generous as well. He offered the rat trap peddler supper of porridge. He gave him tobacco to smoke, and also at the end played a card game which is Majolis. Now, the old crofter was not just generous with his food and tobacco, but also with his secrets as well. He told the rat trap seller that he was supported by his cow. Last month he had got 30 kronor from the creamery, and he showed the guest, which is the rat trap peddler, where he had kept the money as well. After spending the night with the old crofter, next morning the rat trap peddler stole the money from the house of the old crofter, and he got into a forest in order to avoid being arrested. Now he got lost in this big and confusing forest. The paths twisted, and he was not able to come out of the forest. He kept walking around in the same place, and the whole forest seemed to be an impenetrable prison. And then the rat trap seller was struck with this thought that it was his turn in the rat trap now. He was fooled and caught by the bait, which was the 30 kronor. He had become greedy, and now he was trapped in this forest. And he became gloomy and despair because he thought it was his end. There was no way of moving out of the forest. When the rat trap seller had given all the hopes of coming out of the forest, he heard the thumping from the Ramsjo iron work, and he summoned all his strength and he went to the Ramjo ironwork in order to seek shelter for the night. The blacksmith also did not pay attention to him because it's a common manner of people like him coming to the iron mill for shelter, especially in the winter season. That night, the iron master of the Ramjo iron mill arrives at the mill for the night inspection. And he came and saw the rat trap settler, and he mistook him to be his regimental comrade Nils Ilof. Seeing his poor condition, he was feeling very bad, and so he invited him to his house, which is the manor house, to celebrate Christmas. Now, the vagabond refused, thinking that if he accepts the invitation, it would be like throwing himself into the lion's den. Also, he was worried about the 30 kronor that he had stolen from the old crofter. The Rattrap peddler only wanted the iron master to maybe give him some money, seeing his miserable condition, but he did not like the idea of going to his house to celebrate Christmas. The Iron Master left the Rat Trap peddler, thinking that he would not be able to persuade him. But later, half an hour later, he sent his daughter Edla Manson. She came to the iron mill along with a valet, and she brought a fur coat along with her. When Edla Manson met the rat trap seller, the first thought she had was this man had either stolen something or he had escaped from the jail, because he was very frightened. Yet, in a very compassionate manner, she assured him that he could come to their house and leave whenever he wanted. Seeing this friendly manner of Edla Manson gave confidence to the rat trap seller, and he accepted the invitation. The next morning, when the stranger had a new look, he was cleaned and well dressed. The valet had bade them cut his hair and shaved him, and when came out in his new look, the Iron Master realized his mistake, that this fellow, whom he had brought as his friend, was actually not his friend. Realizing his mistake, the Iron Master did not want to keep the rat trap peddler in his house. He wanted to send him away. But Edla Manson, she had different plans. She told her father that this man keeps walking the whole year. He's afraid of people, he's afraid of being arrested and cross examined, he's not welcomed anywhere. She just wanted him to enjoy a day peacefully in the whole year. Also, though it was a mistake, but they had invited him for Christmas and they should give him the Christmas cheer which they had promised. Seeing the dedication, the compassion of the daughter, the father gave in, just saying that she should not regret for what she's doing. That Christmas Eve, the rat trap seller ate and slept for the entire day. And in the evening, when it came down to wish everyone, Ella Manson not just gave him the Christmas present, which was the father's suit, but she also gave him assuring words that he could come back next Christmas if he wanted a place of peace and security. Next morning, which was Christmas morning, the father and the daughter, they went to the church for the Christmas services, and there they came to know that the old crofter had been robbed by a man who went across selling rat traps. And then they realized how they had given him shelter and they could be robbed as well. But to their surprise, when they returned back, the rat trap peddler had not taken anything from the house, but he had left a Christmas present for Edlaville Manson. Now, this Christmas present was a small rat trap with 30 kronos in it and a letter written for Edlaville Manson. Let's look at the letter in details. Honored and noble miss, since you have been so nice to me all day long, as if I was a captain, I want to be nice to you in return as if I was a real captain. So Edla Manson, knowing that this person was not the captain, was not the friend of her father, yet she treated him with respect, with love, as if he was a real captain. And in return, the rat trap peddler also wanted to behave nice and give her a Christmas present. For I do not want you to be embarrassed at this Christmas season by a thief, but you can give back the money to the old man on the roadside who has the money pouch hanging on the window frame as a bait for poor wanderers. He realized his mistake. He realized that he was trapped in a rat trap. The money of the old crofter was like a bait, but he was able to come out of that rat trap. The rat trap is a Christmas present from a rat who would have been caught in this world's rat trap if he had not been raised to captain, because in that way he got power to clear himself. The love, the compassion, the understanding which Edler Manson showed towards the peddler, knowing his reality, his true identity, changed him as a person, and he realized that the ill that he had been thinking of the world is not true. There are few people who are good, kind hearted, and caring for no reason. And it is human beings do have this kindness and compassion in them. And he experienced this in Edla Manson. And when he experienced this, he changed himself. Written with friendship and high regard, Captain Von Stell, and he signed the letter as Captain Von Stell, who was the real captain, the friend of the Iron Master. He signs himself as Captain Von Stell because Edla had treated him like a captain, and he also wanted to behave as if he was a real captain and not a rat trap peddler. This short story is about an old and disillusioned peddler. He's a thief and he thinks ill of the world because this world had never treated him well. But when he comes across Edla Manson, the generosity shown by this young woman changes him completely. Her kindness changes his bitter attitude towards people and life. And through the story, the writer Selma Lagerlof conveys a definite message. There's a universal appeal in the story, which is the essential goodness in human being never dies. It can be awakened through understanding and love, is what we see in the story. Ella Will Manson awakens the basic goodness of the peddler. She changes him just with being kind, caring, and understanding. And we see iron, the rat trap seller turn into a noble person at the end of the story. He becomes so good that he realizes his mistake of stealing the money and returns that to the old crofter. Let's discuss the title. I think the title of the story is very appropriate and logical title. We see the rat trap as a metaphor of a human life, and the writer has used it very effectively. We see the whole world is a big rat trap. Everything that it offers, the joys, riches, food, shelter, are just bait. It just tempts people into falling into the rat trap. But at the end, we also see that there is a way out of this rat trap if we give away our greed, if we give away that temptation in us, and we think of everyone else, and then we'll be able to come out of this rat trap. Let's now look at the character sketch of the important characters. The central character of the story is a rat trap peddler who's a poor vagabond, wears torn and tattered clothes. He lives a very poor life, does petty thievery and begging, considers the world to be a big rat trap. His philosophy gives him immense joy. He himself got trapped in the rat trap when he stole the 30 kronor from the old crofter. The goodness left in him is brought to surface by kind and compassionate Edla Will Manson. When he meets Edla Manson, he is completely transformed and he realizes his mistake. And at the end, he gives away the 30 kroner to Edla Manson to be given to the old crofter. So we see at the beginning that he's a man who doesn't believe in goodness, who doesn't believe in the world being good. But at the end of the chapter, the love and the compassion shown by Edla Manson transforms him completely. Iron Master is rich, owns a large iron factory, ambitious about giving good iron to the market. He's kind hearted and friendly. When he was younger, he was into the military and he had resigned from the regiment. He was not very observant, came to conclusion very soon, and that's why he thought the Rattrap seller to be his comrade Nils Illoff. Not a very good judge of character as well, mistakes the Rattrap as his friend, did not insult the rat trap peddler because of his miserable condition, invited him home, and when he realized his mistake, he got angry with the poor man. He wanted to throw him out, but on the daughter's request, he behaved nicely with him. Also, we see him as a kind hearted person because though he did not want the rat trap peddler in his house, yet he gave him his suit as Christmas present. Ella Manson, we clearly see in the story it's mentioned she is not pretty, but she has a very beautiful heart, and which we see in the second half of the story. She's kind and compassionate, talked and behaved in a very friendly manner with the rat trap peddler, though she realized that he would have either stolen something or had escaped from the jail, yet behaved very kindly. She was empathetic towards the peddler, understood the problem of their lives, how they kept walking throughout the year, didn't have a house and family, didn't have a peaceful life, and she wanted to give him a day of peace and enjoyment. She was very powerful with her persuasion, persuaded the peddler to come home when the father had failed. She believed in the true spirit of Christmas, wanted the peddler to enjoy one day in the entire year. Now look at few important questions from the chapter. Let's first discuss a few short answer type questions. I think these four questions are simple enough. You can easily answer, and we've already done it in the chapter. I would like to answer the third question. What brought about a change in the life of the peddler? Edla's kind and caring behavior finally changed the peddler. She treated him with love and respect, thinking him to be a captain, even after realizing that he was a poor peddler. This trust that Edla showed made him change his life, and now probably he would live his life with dignity and respect. Why did Edla decide to entertain the peddler against the wishes of her father? Edla has always thought the peddler to be a home, poorless tramp and didn't feel cheated when his true identity was revealed. Instead, she felt bad for him and she pleaded on his behalf so that she could keep him for Christmas and make him enjoy a day at peace. What conclusion did the Iron Master reach when he heard that the crofter had been robbed by the peddler? He reached the conclusion that by the time they reach home, the silverware in their house would also be stolen. What was the content of the letter written by the peddler to Edla? The peddler wrote that he wanted to be nice to Edla as she had treated him nicely and like a captain. He further stated that he did not want to be embarrassed by a thief. At Christmas, he requested her to return the money to the old crofter. These four questions are also simple enough, so you can do the answers on your own. Out of these five questions, I'll be discussing question 14 and 15. Why was Edla happy to see the gift left by the peddler? Edla was very dejected when she came to know that the old crofter had been robbed by the Rattrap seller. But when she saw the gift left, which was a small rat trap and three wrinkled notes and a letter, this restored her faith in him. She felt happy because her in him had been justified. Question 15. Why did the peddler sign himself as Captain Von Stell? Edla had honored and treated the peddler like a captain in spite of knowing the truth. His signing himself as Captain Von Stell shows that he wanted to retain the dignity and respect that she had for him. Let's now look at few long answer type questions. Our first question: give instances from the chapter to show that most of the characters are victims of loneliness. So here the key point is victims of loneliness. We'll first see the tramp. He's a lonely person, a vagabond, has a very sad and monotonous life. Wherever he went, he was greeted by people with sour faces, except for the old crofter. So he lives a life of loneliness. He doesn't have anyone to go to talk to. The second character that we come across is the old crofter. He also lives alone in his cottage without family. He becomes very happy when he meets the rat trap seller. Then a third character is the Iron Master and his daughter. They are also lonely. It's just two of them without the brother, and they are also feeling very lonely because they don't have anyone for Christmas. And so we see all the characters, whether it's the Rat Trap Seller or the Old Crofter or the Iron Master at Lovell Manson, everyone has some sort of loneliness in their life. The peddler believed that the whole world is a rat trap. How did he himself get caught in the same? He believed that the entire world is a rat trap. The riches, the joys, the shelter, the clothing, everything that the world offers was like a bait. He himself got caught in the rat trap when he became greedy and he stole the 30 kronor from the old crofter's house. And then, in order to avoid being arrested, he walked into the woods, and then he could not find a way out of it, and then he realized how it was his turn to be in the rat trap. Given his temperament, Edla's father would have failed to reform the peddler. How did Edla succeed? So we see that Edla is a compassionate, sympathetic, and understanding girl, and she has these virtues. With these virtues, she succeeded in reforming the peddler. Whereas on the other hand, the father is very impulsive. He, without even checking the identity of the rat trap seller, he brought him home, thinking him to be his old comrade, regimental friend. But when he realized his mistake, he wanted to send him away or hand him to the sheriff. But Edla Manson, though she came to know that he was not the friend, yet she entertained him, made him stay back for Christmas, behaved very nicely for him, behaved as if he was a real captain. And this behavior of hers, it awakened the potential goodness of the rat trap seller, and he transformed at the end, which would not have been possible if the father would have sent him away. Rattrap highlights the impact of compassion and understanding on the hidden goodness in human beings, substantiate with evidence from the story. So we have the story with many evidences which tell us that compassion and understanding can bring about the goodness in human beings. We see the peddler, the rat trap seller. He goes about selling rat traps. Wherever he goes, he's not treated well. He doesn't think before stealing and doing thievery. Also, he steals the old crofter who had behaved very well with him. He had given him food, shelter, tobacco to smoke, behaved as if he was a friend, yet he stole him. But when he came across Edla Will Manson, the compassion and the understanding which she showed towards the rat trap seller, knowing that he was not a friend of her father, yet very compassionately, very understandingly, she behaved with him. She was empathetic towards him because a vagabond, keeps walking around the entire year, doesn't have a family, doesn't have any peaceful life, and she wanted him to offer one day of enjoyment and peace. And this brought about a change in the rat trap peddler, and at the end he was a changed man. He returned back the 30 kroner which he had stolen from the crofter's house. How are the attitude of Iron Master and his daughter different? Support your answer from the text. So we see the Iron Master and his daughter are very different from each other. The Iron Master was ambitious and arrogant. When he saw the peddler, he mistook him to be his old regimental comrade, invited him home, uh, because he just wanted, he wanted to have someone for Christmas. He was feeling sympathetic towards the poor condition of his friend. But when he realized his mistake, that the peddler was dishonest, he did not tell him the true identity. He wanted him to leave the house. And at the end of the chapter, when he came to know that how the crofter had been robbed by the rat trap seller, he thought that by the time they reach home, the silverware of their house would also be stolen by the rat trap seller. Whereas on the other hand, we have Edla, the daughter. She's kind and compassionate. Initially, she was empathetic towards the rat trap peddler, thinking that he was an old friend. But even after knowing the true identity, that he was just a poor vagabond, her behavior didn't change. She continued to be so caring and understanding and compassionate. She made that Christmas special for the rat trap peddler, which brought about a change in him. The final question. There is the saying, kindness pays rudeness never. In the story, the rat trap, Edler's attitude towards men and matters is different from a father's attitude. How were the values of concern and compassion brought in the story, the rat trap? So I think the first part, which is the difference between the attitude of the father and the daughter, we have already discussed in the last question. How are the values of concern and compassion brought in the story? We'll discuss this part now. Edla Manson, she was very concerned and compassionate towards the rat trap seller. Initially, she thought him to be the friend, the old regimental comrade of her father, but when she came to know the true identity, she behaved in a similar manner. She could understand the fact that he, as a poor vagabond, didn't have a house, didn't have a family, didn't have anywhere to go, was always afraid of being arrested and cross examined. And this behavior of hers, it brought about a change in the rat trap peddler. And he was a changed man at the end, realizing his mistake, realizing his greed, and he could also give away that temptation of 30 kroner because of Edla's behavior. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the story. It's a beautiful story which we can also use in our own daily lives. If you liked this video, please give a thumbs up and do subscribe to my channel.